you have a favourite photograph of the Queen? Could it be this one? Or maybe this one? Whichever it is, there's a strong chance it was taken by royal photographer Chris Jackson. This royal expert has worked closely with the royal family for over 20 years and has travelled to more than 100 countries with them. For this episode of An Afternoon Tea With, I want to find out exactly what it's like working behind the lens with the royal family. So can you tell me a little bit about what your job at Getty entails?
Well, as Getty Images royal photographer, I photograph the British royal family on a daily basis, domestically in the UK and around the world on royal tour. I've been lucky enough to sort of travel all around the world for many years, photographing anyone from the Queen to the Prince of Wales, Duchess of Cornwall, Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and you know, it's been incredible.
This is Chris's latest book. It focuses on his experience photographing the Queen, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to meet with him today.
Can you just tell me briefly a little bit about the book?
Elizabeth II, a queen for our time. I've been super keen to do a book on the Queen for many years, and I felt that, you know, it's coming up to 20 years of photographing the Queen. I thought now was the right time. Obviously coming up to the Platinum Jubilee, it seemed like the ideal opportunity to put it together.
How does it feel when you're actually in the Queen's presence?
You know, the Queen has this incredible aura when she walks into a room, and it honestly never gets boring photographing her. It's an incredible experience. It's always exciting, and you know, even today I just get hugely excited when I get the opportunity to photograph the Queen. And potentially it could be a picture that lives on in the archive for the next sort of 10, maybe even 100 years, which is what's so special about it.
You mentioned, I think it was in the beginning of the book, that the idea behind the book was to portray the Queen's personality. How do you think you did that with the images?
I've had the opportunity to photograph the Queen off so many different facets of her life, from, you know, the incredible formal royal engagements that make up her day-to-day royal diary, to some of those family moments and some of the things that really make you smile. A great example of that is something like the Highland Games, where she's come to watch the games with her family often, and there's generally a moment where she sort of bursts into laughter, but you have to be fully focused on what's going on because you never quite know what's going to happen. I think, you know, there's been a few occasions in the past where her team, Balmoral, have been competing in the tug of war or the sack race and everyone's fallen over or something. So you have to be there to capture that particular moment.
Can you tell me a little bit about photographing the children?
I absolutely love photographing the royal children. They add a whole new dynamic. Certainly, it makes it a little bit more challenging. Of course, you know, royal protocol isn't necessarily always at the forefront of their mind when they're a bit smaller, as you'd expect.
You've just reminded me of quite a funny anecdote in your book where you were asked to lead a convoy of the Queen and Prince Charles between two locations. Can you retell that, please?
Well, that was, I suppose, quite a surreal moment for me, but I was photographing an event in the grounds of the Queen's grounds, her back garden essentially. I was told to lead the small convoy essentially, which was the Queen and the Prince of Wales, to the next location. And I'd done this little route once, but I wasn't 100% sure of which entrance I was meant to be going in and things like that. So I jumped in my car and I sort of drove around the Queen's car, and I couldn't remember if it was right or left. I was pretty sure, you know, basically I was pretty sure 100% almost that it was left, but you know, when you're so nervous, like, things make you doubt what you actually know in your mind to be correct. So I went left and it was all fine in the end. But then as I was putting into the front of Frogmore House where we were taking this photograph, the Queen whizzed past me around the back, and I had to jump out of my car and grab all my equipment and sprint around the back of the house. And it was a good couple of 100 metres, and obviously, you know, COVID times, had a face mask on. I was like puffing and huffing. Got there for the photograph. It was a bit of a nightmare, but you know, this is what I love about the job. There is these surreal moments where, you know, you look, not often you look in your wing mirror and you see the Queen driving behind you, but it's yeah, and I love that.
You've got an amazing photo of the Queen walking through the ceramic poppies as well. How did it feel to be there in that moment with them?
Yeah, I think that was an incredible art installation, Blood, Sweat, Lands and Seas of Red, which was in the Tower of London. It was just an amazing visual representation of something so poignant and so meaningful. To see the Queen and the Duke walk through these poppies, and clearly, it meant something to her. She was sort of almost lost in her thoughts, I think. And I think, Remembrance Sunday remains one of the most important dates, or if not the most important date in the Queen's diary. You're also constantly adding to this archive. I certainly see as my life's work there is the archive of the royal family, and my constant goal is to try and make it as interesting and in-depth as possible and as unique as possible.
There's a lovely photo in your book of Prince Philip and the Queen feeding an elephant.
Yeah, that is one of my favourite pictures, and I think that's Donna, the Asian elephant at Whipsnade Animal Park. And I really remember actually waking up that morning just thinking, getting my kit together, this is a fairly day-to-day engagement, the Queen opening this animal sanctuary at Whipsnade, but for some reason I just didn't think this would be the picture I'd get, and I didn't think the Queen and Prince Philip would feed Donna a banana. But what I loved about this particular picture is that the Queen's just fed Donna a banana. I think Donna is putting her trunk outstretched to try and snaffle a banana from the Queen's pocket. And they're both really enjoying it. It's making me smile behind the camera, and it was just great, and it was just such an unexpected moment. I mean, another one of my favourite pictures in the book is the Queen at the 100-year anniversary of the Women's Institute, the WI, at the Royal Albert Hall. And the party moved outside to cut the cake. And she was with the Princess Royal and the Countess of Wessex. And the Queen, obviously, cutting cakes is an integral part of being a member of the royal family. And the Queen sort of stuck the knife in the cake to do what she normally does. And I don't think she could get it out again afterwards, and she had to get some help. So everyone burst into laughter. And that kind of moment, whilst it's not technically going to plan, made for a lovely photo.
And that's it for this episode of An Afternoon Tea With. Chris is off to another royal engagement, and we're putting the teapots away until next time. Remember to subscribe and tap that bell notification because you do not want to miss our next episode.